Hello and welcome. I'm AJ.
I'm Alex.
This is NTVN New Tech Vintage Nerds. Today we're going to talk about.
mmWave.
Wow. Let's roll that intro. Before we talk about mmWave, my goodness, mmWave. What did you automate this week? And I'm sorry, the jingle will be coming next time.
I didn't automate anything this week. I mostly repaired automation. I don't know why that happens, but sometimes, with all your home automation stuff, that you at some point in time, when you do this alone time, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of little tiny automations that do little tiny things that generally you appreciate a lot, right? Like our coffee machine automatically switches on in the morning when my wife wakes up. That automation broke because the integration broke.
Ooh.
So I was talking to the developer of the automation of the integration. Sorry, and he was like, "Yeah, I know that there is a problem, la di da di da, and has to do with I'm using Homey, as you may or may not recall, and it has to do with the fact that Homey has changed the Bluetooth engine, and the range is now not that good, and the integration cannot deal with that very well." So when it cannot reach the coffee machine, it just crashes.
Okay.
All right.
That's not good.
He said, I already made a new test version. So here's the link. And you can give it a go. So I installed what? First of all, tossed off the other one, the actual production version. And I installed the test version. And look and behold, it didn't work. So I removed the coffee machine as a device from Homey, and then, as he already predicted, when I tried to re-add the coffee machine, Homey was like, "I don't know, I don't see a coffee machine." But for some reason, I don't know what happened, but we got an update apparently. And I don't know why I thought that, but I thought, why not, just give it another go.
Yeah.
And look, there it is.
It worked.
And this morning, my wife said, "You know what? When I got up this morning and I came down, the coffee machine was on."
Oh, nice.
So I didn't automate anything, but I repaired an automation. Does that count?
Yeah, it does. Because mine is almost the same. I did two things in Home Assistant. The Home Assistant now works with, and I'm trying to find how it's called because it's new and fantastic. But a new way of
the dashboardy thing.
Yeah,
I noticed.
And I really like it.
I do run Home Assistant. It's just that I run Home Assistant for the overflow of whatever Homey doesn't need to do.
So now, so what? Oh man, I don't like this. What's it called? It is called sections.
Yeah, that was it.
So I split up all kinds of things and put it into sections where I was first a real lover of the grid component or a grid card to make sure that everything flows like I want it to flow. So that's one thing I did, and I must admit it's pretty easy to put into to Home Assistant.
It looks fancy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, Homey now also has dashboards.
Okay.
And that update actually came fairly recently. I think 2 weeks ago. And yesterday, they announced another edition, and they will be having an extra energy dashboard, and not just that, they will also be having an an additional energy dongle, which you can plug into your power meter. I don't know if that's international or if that's just us, but in the Netherlands, you have what's called a smart power meter, which has a P1 port on the side, and there's basically an RJ11 plug with sometimes with and sometimes without power, depends on the version of the meter. And you can plug in a smart measuring device, so you can actually read the power usage and the numbers in the meter as well. So and they just announced that this will be a new product from them, and they will have an additional energy dashboard, and that is something I very much like. In the future, we'll also be able to take into account home batteries. And electric car charging.
Okay.
And solar panels. I think it can already do solar panels out of the box, but it will be able to at least show and maybe also manage. I don't know about that. Home batteries, and local energy storage, and so you can schedule the charging of your electric car, etc., etc.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
So that looks very fancy.
Well,
and I'm quite interested in that stuff.
Yeah. The Home Assistant has something similar, like an energy dashboard.
I know.
With a diagram that shows your house, the grid, your solar.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it. It also shows what's your carbon footprint for your energy, but also if you have a water meter with a pulse meter on top of it, and it also shows your water consumption. Mine, for some reason, says 0 liters today. I probably have to put the sensor back on it.
I thought I smelled something.
Anyway, what I also automated was something that I didn't automate. My wife asked me, we have new lighting in the hallway, and can you put it on the same circuit as when we get into the house, the lighting goes on? Well, yes, I will do that. And I came home from training from the gym, and the lights were on. I said, wow, I automated this already. Wow, great. I have to fine tune it, but lighting works. So it's pretty amazing how automation works if you're using the right concepts.
So you were asked to do an automation, which you already did, and now you came to the conclusion that you actually already did it, so you actually didn't do automation anyway?
Yeah, I took the credits for it. Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'm just trying to, put it all in the right right order. But I'll get back to that energy dashboard from Homey probably when it goes live, because it's in beta now. So beta, whatever. So I don't know what it's going to look like. You have to install the beta firmware as well, and I'm not a very big fan of that, because it's my home, and I'm not the only one living here, and if stuff breaks, then that is not good.
Yeah, if you're really interesting, you could buy another one.
They're $400. No.
Yeah. No, for home system, it's easier. You can just spin up an instance on a virtual machine.
It's nice as a hobby, but I don't want to spend another $400 on a testing and playground device. No, that's not going to happen.
No, I understand. So, but
when I think about it, I mean, I do spend money on other shit that if you actually count it all, well, that's not.
Yeah. Home automation is expensive.
Well,
It costs
that's
a
the
lot.
thing. No, home automation isn't expensive. Home automation is a rabbit hole. And that's the problem.
Why is
Home
that a
automation
problem?
is it's all little amounts. It's $20 here, $30 there, $50 there. Sometimes it's a big chunk. Like you say, I want to buy I don't know a proper robo vacuum, right?
Yeah.
If you want to buy a proper robo vacuum these days, one that mops and vacuums and has its own refill station and dump station, and I think that you even have them with. They are connected to the mains, so they actually dump their own water in the sewer and pull their fresh water directly from tap, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
That's $1,200 easy,
Yeah.
and I've seen them for even more. So yeah, those are big expenses. But the standard home automation chisel, that's just the initial sensor here and the button there and the smart switch this and the sensor that's all €15, 20, 30, 50, maybe 70, but it's 70 is the expensive Fibaro stuff.
Yeah.
And 10, 15, 20 euros is the cheap Tuya and Aqara stuff. Doesn't mean it's not working. It's just cheaper.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can do less. Sometimes it's a bit less reliable. But generally, it tends to work. To all work. The thing is, you need not one, but you need 20, and then it adds up, right?
Yeah.
And you do. Today I do my office. Next week I do my wife's office. The week after I do the home, the living room, and then the kitchen, and then the garage. And when you then after you've done it all, you add them all up. So,
Yeah. Don't do that.
I spent $1,000 on
Yeah.
on automation chisel.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And when you buy something new, I bought lights in the background. I start to dislike that I have to push in a knob and have to put it on a charger. So I'm already looking for lights that have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so I can control them. If I push a button, it all turns on.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. So talking about another rabbit hole, millimeter
If we're
wave,
not going
wave, whatever.
to talk about home automation, talk about mmWave or
Yeah,
mmWave.
mmWave. Why do you want to use it?
Well,
What's it?
I mean, I'm not going to explain what it is because there are people doing a far better job at that than I do. But I'd say what are our experiences with millimeter wave? So for those who do not know what millimeter wave is, basically it's the alternative to the good old PIR sensor, and if you know the standard PIR sensors, when you, for instance, sit on the couch, at some point in time, the lights go out because that thing thinks you've left.
Yeah.
Because you're
on the
not moving.
I have another place in the house that turns off when I sit there too long. But yeah, the couch is a good example.
I explicitly took the couch, but you can do it on the toilet as well. Yes. So I know a lot of companies have that in offices. When you are sitting still working at your desk, just typing, the amount of movement that you do is not enough, and so after 15 minutes you're in the dark.
Yep.
That's what a PIR sensor is. It basically only notices you when you move around. When you move around enough, let's put it like that. When I do it like this, it doesn't see me. When I do it like this, it does see me.
Yeah.
So that's basically what a PIR sensor is, and that is wonderful for areas where people are constantly moving through, like a landing or a hallway or a passageway or an office floor where people constantly are moving through, and that there's always something or someone to spot to turn the light on, and that's fine.
Yep.
But in home automation, there are a lot of scenarios, like when you're on the toilet or when you're on the couch, or I don't know, where you want that device to detect you even when you're sitting still on the couch watching a movie for 1.5 hours. You don't want it to turn off the lights after 15 minutes. That's annoying.
Yep.
A PIR sensor will do that for you. It will turn the lights off after 15 minutes. Nobody's home.
No.
So what mmWave does is it scans the room and it detects if you're there. A bit like a radar.
Yeah, it does it like the PAR sensor, but it's enough that you breathe or just sit there.
Yeah. The difference is, first of all, it's much more accurate. Second, it's a constant scan. So generally, I don't know if they are out there, but I haven't seen them yet. Generally, a mmWave sensor has a power plug, because when you put it on a battery, it will probably be empty within a week.
Yep.
And if it's busy, maybe even shorter. So a lot of those sensors actually come with a power plug. And basically, I'm using the Aqara FP2, of which I have two. You plug it in, you register it, you design a zone, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I think it's supposed to 25-ish, but I haven't tried it out. Doesn't really matter. But I don't think generally people will have that many zones in their living room. So, for instance, you designate the area where your couch is, you designate the area where your reading nook is, you designate the area where your dining table is, and then you assign the lights to the different zones, and then you tell your home automation, if movement is detected in that zone, switch on the light in that zone. If movement is detected in the other zone, switch on the light in that zone, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Theoretically, it should mean that the light moves with you. When you move from the couch to the dining table, the light on the couch should turn off and the light on the dining table should turn on. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And does it do that for you? I mean,
what are your experiences?
I placed one in the kitchen, around the kitchen island. And it took a bit of tweaking, and apparently the thing's got AI to make sure that it never turns on when it's not supposed to. I mean, everything uses AI these days, so whatever. My experience is that most of the time it works great. However, it is
Here we
not.
go, folks.
Sorry?
Here we go, folks.
Yeah, it's not foolproof. So the way our kitchen is designed, we have long space before we get into the kitchen. So it's not really a problem with turning it on, because mmWave, what a nasty name. mmWave is turning on slower or detecting slower than PIR.
Yes, that has to be said. It takes 2-3 ticks before you are actually detected, where a PIR sensor generally is instantly on. Not so much.
So for us, since we're walking to the kitchen, there's 3 or 4 meters detection zone. So it doesn't matter that it doesn't act as quickly as PIR. However, it turns off when we're at a certain spot in the kitchen where the waves bounce off of glossy objects like the oven or stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's pretty annoying.
it is.
Um,
I solved that problem by building in a delay of 20 seconds before the light turns off.
Yeah, I did the
So
same.
if you move out and in of the zone within 20 seconds, nothing happens.
Yeah, I did the same. And I divided 2 zones, one for the left side of the island and one of the right side of the island.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of trickery going on, because if you reach over the counter, you want something from the other side, the lights don't turn on, because it's just the walkway behind the kitchen counter or behind the island. That's the detection zone.
Okay.
But I had to make a real narrow zone, because you don't want, if you walk into the kitchen, that both left and right sides turn on. You specifically want, in our case, the right side to turn on, because that's the main area where the what do you call it in English? No, sorry. What do you call it in American? The cupboards.
Oh, okay. That's where your storage is.
Yeah. The pantry. So that's our primary reason to be in the kitchen, and the other side is all the barbecue stuff. So that's my primary reason to be in the kitchen.
It's your side.
Yeah, and I don't want to turn that lighting on when we go into the other side, like for the coffee machine.
Yeah,
and that took a bit of finessing, because it's in the beginning both turned on, because there was reflection, there was a certain place at the counter that if you were standing too close to that zone, the lighting were turned on both sides. It was suboptimal.
Very politically correct.
Yeah, now it turns on and off pretty good. One spot that's turning off when we're standing there, well, we're standing almost outside of our kitchen, in the window, through the window almost. So that's not a big problem. That's where's the beer storage stored, so no need for light there. And the other side is working pretty good. I am considering if I need to put in a PIR sensor to make sure that the thing turns on, of the light turns on earlier. So with a combination of PIR and mmWave.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. The thing is that it's difficult to define the zone and the PIR sensor to make them both work together. I totally recognize the fiddling and fine tuning. I had one sensor in the living room, and I put up one sensor in my office, and one sensor in my office is actually pointed at the glass door, and it constantly thought there were 2 people in the room.
Oh yeah, exactly that.
So that was a bit annoying. Now, my office isn't that big that it needs multiple zones, so it was just for the occupation, and it was more or less a test. But in the living room, we had a different problem. Well, actually, multiple. The range of detection, of trustworthy detection, is roughly 4 to 5 meters ish. When you go beyond that, the the trustworthy detection rapidly declines.
Yeah, is it talking about false positives or something like that?
Or not detecting at all.
Okay.
And our living room is quite stretched. So when you sit in a sitting area and you stand up and you walk over to the dining table, which is roughly, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 meters away from the sensor, it just stops detecting you.
Okay.
Or which was very annoying, when people are on both sides of the dining table, and the people facing the sensor were not detected anymore, and the people with their backs to the sensor, who were the closest to the sensor because it was in the back, it was at their end of the room, so to speak, stood up and went to the toilet. The other people in the room were in the dark.
Yeah.
So what I did to resolve that, basically, I took the sensor I had in my office and I put it in the other side of the room. So now the problem at the dining table is solved. It doesn't matter on what side of the dining table you are. The light will switch on. What we do notice, and this happens on a very regular basis, when I stand up and walk over to the sitting area and take and sit on the couch, it detects me. When my wife comes over and sits next to me on the couch, it also detects her. At some point in time, according to the sensor, we merge.
That's only sensor, right? Yeah.
And there's just one person in the room, according to the sensor.
Smart.
When
AI.
this person then stands up and goes to the toilet, the other person still sits in the dark because it will turn the lights off and will not detect the other person until that person actually gets up, walks towards the sensor. Hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
Then the sensor suddenly sees you again. Oh, wait a minute, there's still a person in the room. I'll turn on the lights now.
Okay, that's odd.
We've had that multiple times. Actually, we have that on a daily basis. We have that so much on a daily basis, I consider turning off the automation.
Okay. Well, I haven't had the problem yet, luckily, but I can imagine that's pretty annoying.
It is, yeah. And as long as you both are on the couch and we're both watching TV, it doesn't really annoy you because, well, the light stays on because it still thinks that someone's on the couch.
Yeah.
But after a while, when someone, well, for instance, when my wife gets up to go to bed and I decide to stay a little longer, which is actually standard in the evening, she gets up early, so she goes to bed earlier than I do. Generally, I'm in the dark. Not always, but I'd say 60% of the time. I do have to admit that with the latest firmware update from Aqara, which is the producer of the sensor, I think it's version 1.28, top of my head. It did improve, but it's still not fixed. So it is, that fine tuning and fiddling with the sensor is really, really, really necessary to actually make it work.
Yeah.
What I find wonderful, and this is still nice trickery. When you get up from the couch and we walk over to our reading nook, then the light turns off on the couch and the light on the reading nook turns on. I still love that.
Yeah.
When you walk over, and I sit down, and flop, the light turns on.
Yeah.
That's still wonderful, and that's so convenient. You get used to that so quickly.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more annoying when it doesn't turn on.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when you got so many problems with that, why don't you just turn it off? But
Yeah, because it's so convenient. You know, when you sit down, the light automatically turns on, and you're happily sitting on the couch watching I don't know what, and we're chatting away, or I don't know. I'm looking something up on the internet. My wife is looking at some show, and at some point in time, she says, "Oh, well, it's I'm going to bed." Stands up, walks off, and boop. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
So, is it perfect? No. Is it getting better? Yes. Is it there yet? Depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
mmWave has a serious problem with glossy surfaces, glass,
Metal.
polished worktops. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
In the Aqara app, you can designate from which direction it can expect new occupants to come into the room. I did notice that it helps when you define that.
Mm.
It helps with the speed of detection. I must say that the 1, 2, 3 before the light turns on, it depends. I'm generally I do not really experience that long of a delay.
Mm.
But yeah, it's slower than the PIR, definitely.
Yeah. I think I want to try one here in the office, but we'll see. I mean, I use buttons right now because I switched from one scene to the next. When I'm on a video call, there's more light in here than normally, and I got a specific button for hobbies. Then it lights turns down and it's all yellow, green, whatever. So I'm not sure if it would bring any benefits to put in a sensor here. I mean, the one I have one in the ceiling. That's a PIR, but well, I pulled out all the lamps and all the lights from the fixture because
It doesn't work anyway.
Yeah, it was annoying. Like I was sitting still and then lights went off.
And lights turn off. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was on a video call, it was annoying because the frequency of the lights were different than the frequency of my camera.
Oh, so
It's pretty annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that colleagues of us have that problem. Fine. I don't want to have that problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I really like. I've seen so I really like the mmWave. Generally, it solves a problem that we really have, right? So, but it's not there yet, and I don't know what the solution is. If the solution is to combine mmWave and PIR. I know that there's this guy on the internet who did a specifically for home automation. He made a PIR and mmWave combination sensor or something like that.
Can't remember.
That's looking interesting.
Yeah.
I know that Aqara actually recently released a second mmWave sensor, but that only detects a single person.
Okay.
That may be interesting for something like a toilet or so.
Yeah,
I think it still requires the to be connected to mains. So you still need to plug it in somewhere.
Yep.
Which is something that would refrain me from installing it into the toilet, because where am I going to plug that in?
In the ceiling.
Do you have a plug in the ceiling? Plug?
Not yet, but it's easy to make.
Maybe, but I haven't yet. So maybe I'll give that a go. Right now, it's got a PIR sensor, and I just tell my wife, if the light turns off, you're too long on the toilet.
Yeah.
or
Well,
wave at it, and it will turn the light back on.
I just turned up the time that it would go out, so no problem here.
But that sort of defies the purpose, right?
I know.
You want to light to turn off when you leave, and not to keep it on for another 15 minutes because maybe you're doing something that takes more time on the toilet.
Yep. And I could take my iPad and sit on a couch, but yeah, whatever.
Anyway, folks, mmWave.
Yeah. So, millimeter wave. Yes.
mmWave.
I think I can finally say it without weaving.
Anyway, do you have a tip for this week?
Well, I already gave my tip today earlier to you. When you start 3D printing and you need magnets, there's a real nifty toy you can print yourself that can put in the magnets the right way. Because when you put in magnets into your 3D prints, it's a bit hard to glue them together. Oh, wow, what an action. It's hard to put in the magnets the right orientation, because when you pull them out of a tray or out of a longer set of magnets, they flip very easily, and then you have to remember those ones. You have to remember which side is up, or at least if you put something in a print with two sides, you need them to match up, and
otherwise it won't stick.
It pushes off. So and this one is
if you do not do that, your fingers will look like mine.
They're
all covered in glue.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty nifty print, and if you do something with magnets in 3D printing, it's a real great thing.
Yeah,
I'll put in, if I don't forget, and I listen to myself talking about it, I will put in the link in the description.
Very nice.
So that was my tip.
Very good.
Do you have a tip?
I do. And this is a tip that may actually become a topic as well. But we'll see. That depends on the success ratio. I am actually printing, and it's because it's a fairly large print. It's taking me quite some time. I'm actually printing a what's it called? A mini greenhouse, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that has been designed by a lady who is also on YouTube. She's called Hands-On Katie. Well, she's probably not called Hands-On Katie, but she's called Katie, and she's got a channel that's called Hands-On Katie. And she has designed something that she calls Herbus, and that basically is a big box where you can, for instance, grow your herbs for the kitchen, or I don't know, you can also grow your little plants in your vegetable garden, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is quite a large print to do. I'm up to the I think the fourth or the fifth roll of filament, because it's a fairly large box. So for starters, you do not have to add any technology or automation to it. But come on, guys, we're NTVN. We can't do that without.
Yeah.
So I've already put in the full spectrum LED lights for growing plants. I'm looking at a solution for watering it. There are some suggestions by Katie, but unfortunately, the device that she's referring to is in the US, and getting it over here is fairly expensive. So it's not that it's not an option, but it can only water 4 plants, and I ideally would have a bit more in there. So that means I would have to buy 2. And then I was looking at a different solution made by Gardena, if you know the brand. It's actually a sub-brand of Husqvarna, which is I think Scandinavian. Norwegian, Swedish,
It sounds
Danish.
like it.
I don't know. I think it's Swedish, if I can recall correctly.
If you say so.
Yeah. Anyway, they have a solution where you can actually water 34 plants from a single box, and that really resonated with me. So hold on, 34. Yeah. That's more than I can get in this box, so that will probably be enough for me. And it's even cheaper than when I import the suggested solution. But then again, it doesn't fit into the box, so maybe I have to do a bit of designing modification for it to actually integrate it into the box and make it work. But I have to order it first and then see if it fits. And I'm still in the basics of printing all the parts from the box. So for now, I'd say check out her channel, Hands on Katie, and it's a really, really nice project to do, especially if you like if you have a vegetable garden or if you like fresh herbs in your kitchen. Take a look, give it a go. But be prepared to have some printing time if you have a 3D printer. Well, that's a requirement, obviously. Be prepared to print quite a few bits because it's a fairly large print, but definitely worth it. I'm almost done printing all the parts, and it looks amazing.
Okay, well then we actually do need to do an episode on it, because I want to know all about herbs. I'm not sure if that's technical or not, and especially what you did to make that print better, or how did you finish it? Like you told before the episode, the sawing of the plexiglass and stuff like that. So I'm really interested.
Yeah. So in short, Katie has all kinds of devices, laser cutters and stuff. I don't own that. So I'm just a slob with a saw, and I just cut the acrylic glass with my Dremel, which almost was spot on. Almost.
You I do have a CNC machine, right?
Yeah. But this was easier. I was just and was done.
Yeah, okay.
I just had to cut little corners, and by cutting the little corners, I cut a bit too much, but it's still enough, so you don't see it anyway. Only if you turn the door around, which you shouldn't do then.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's a complete project with a door with acrylic glass on the front and the back, and lights and watering and such, and a germination area and a grow area and an overflow station. It's a complete set. So it's an incredible project. I really like it. Check out her channel, and we'll talk about it anyway.
Cool. Well, with that, I'm AJ.
I'm Alex.
See you next time.